Today we are reviewing Simplicity's KnowMe2063 pattern by Brittany Jones. So we are full effect in the fall, very close to winter, and I am still working on the projects that I set in summer, and that is completely okay. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but I'm still trucking through, okay? Today's pattern is the KnowMe2063 pattern. It is a jumpsuit and romper. There are two options in the pattern. And it is by influencer Brittany Jones. KnowMe patterns, influencers, and designers get called on to make their own pattern to sell commercially. And I think that's a dope opportunity. I'm not gonna lie, I would like that too. It adds some uniqueness to the pattern market. So for me, I think that patterns are very generic and very boxy. KnowMe does a good job at that because it gives a more personal view. It gives a personal designer touch. It's my 2 cents on KnowMe patterns. I made the 2063 romper. It is the short set because, again, this was supposed to be for summer. Had I have known I would sew this in winter, I probably would have updated to the jumpsuit, but it was too late. I had already started the jumpsuit, painting it, which we'll talk about more later, and I couldn't go back. So we are in fall, dang near winter, wearing shorts. And that's okay. I live in California. Okay. This is the pattern 2063. It comes with a jumpsuit option and a romper option. So basically the only thing that's different between the two is one is pants and one is shorts. The pants pattern actually has a line to cut it into shorts. Instruction wise, everything's pretty much the same. As for sizes, there are 2 sizes that you can buy Simplicity and KnowMe patterns is. There's a slimmer size and a more plus size. I got the more plus size because that's where I fall in line. This one goes from a size 20 to a size, no it doesn't. It goes from a size 10 to a size 28W. I made a size 20 and that's where the bust is recommended at 42, waist 35, and hip 44. Now that's not the finished measurements because this is clearly larger and oversized, but there's a lot of numbers down there and I don't want to read them all to you. The suggested fabrics are chambray, cotton blends, and linen blends, so a lightweight, airy type of fabric. Interfacing is also requested, and the notions that are requested are a 9-inch zipper, 2 5/8 buttons, and 3/4 of a yard of 3/8 inch elastic. You can buy the pattern in 2 ways. You can buy it from the envelope, the physical pattern, have it delivered to you, or pick it up in the store and cut it out the old-fashioned way with the brown tissue paper. Or you can get a PDF version and have it in your Simplicity account and download it from there. I chose the PDF pattern, and just so like I can have different sizes already there. If I go up and down, I have it available to me without cutting or having to retrace the pattern. So let's get into the actual pattern. So I chose the PDF pattern where I had to download it, print it out, and cut it. And that is one complaint. I do not like how this pattern, I don't know if the other KnowMe patterns are like this or Simplicity patterns, but the KnowMe pattern, when you cut it out, there is so much extra paper that it basically makes it clunky. The overlapping area is so much. I don't know if maybe you can see it with the light. There's so much overlapping area that's probably like 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and it just makes the tape lines all bulky and stiff. The markings was not confusing, they just didn't line up how I wanted them to line up, or properly or easily, honestly. I'm sure they're supposed to line up, but it was dealing with too much extra paper. So that is one thing I do not like about the pattern, was the taping. As for cutting the pattern into the fabric was pretty straightforward. There are 13 pieces to this pattern, and no matter which version you cut, there are 13 pieces. You're gonna cut a long pant leg or a short leg. So there are 13 pieces. It was very easy. I, however, had an issue because I basically ran out of fabric. You know how they give you a suggestion on how to lay out the fabric and you challenge yourself to lay it out in a better way? That's what I did. Was it the better way? Likely no, but that's what happened. So So I'm cutting out the KnowMe pattern romper, and this is the last of it, the last pieces in the fashion fabric. I have to cut them out in interfacing, but I've already cut these out, and I have to cut this out, and it makes me nervous because normally I get more yardage than needed just in case mistakes happen. But with the romper and with the eye print fabric, I really only got maybe a 1/4 inch more. Then what is requested of the pattern. So there's no room for mistakes really. Like if I make a mistake, I have to take it out. I can't recut. And this one makes me nervous because I have to paint it. I'm painting it with the stencil. So again, there's no mistakes, or we live with the mistakes basically. So I thought I could re-pin it and maneuver it. Didn't work. This won't fit on the fold. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is do a back seam here. So hopefully when this part gets unfolded, I can fit 2 of these, and then I'll just have a back seam in it, because I really don't want to buy a 1/4 yard of fabric just to print this out, or just to cut this out. This is why we get extra yardage. So I accidentally cut seam allowance again. Hopefully there's enough here for me to redo this plan. And this is now 1/2 inch. I'm gonna recut this part. Hopefully not cut this part, and everything will be okay. Hey, she's cut out. Whoa. Other than that, everything cut out nicely and it was very easy. Right after I cut everything, that's when I started painting. So each single piece was painted, was stenciled in the leopard print. As for the instructions, overall, the instructions were pretty straightforward. There was a lot of basting. I don't want to say a lot. There was too much basting for my liking. I'm a lazy sewer, so I don't like doing all these extra steps. I don't like basting. I don't like pressing, which is, I do it, I just don't like it, okay? Anyway, there's a lot of basting. I did the basting and stitch stitching to follow the rules of the pattern. Do I feel like I needed it? No. Otherwise, I just put enough pins in there, honestly. It doesn't seem like that difficult of a pattern, or that shifting of a pattern, to where you need a bunch of basting. So do it if you want, don't if you don't want to. I don't like basting, but I will do it when I feel like doing it. One negative I do have to say is the zipper instructions. Now, I've put zippers in before, so I have like a general knowledge of how it should look or how it should go. The zipper instructions confused the mess out of me. I don't know why. Maybe because I was tired, maybe because it was another person's understanding, probably because it was another person's understanding, but I could not get the instructions. So I laid things out on top of each other until it looked like it was supposed to. And then I put my understanding with the instructions understanding, and I made it work, okay? So that is one thing. Had I been a new sewer and not know how to put in a zipper, I honestly probably would have walked away, because it was, I don't want to say deteriorating. It was a deflation. I know the word starts with a D. A disappointment. Whatever. I didn't feel good about myself when I was doing that. If you know the word that I'm trying to think of, put it in the comments, okay? If you know the word I'm trying to think of. But I didn't feel good about myself afterwards, so I probably would have quit or went to YouTube University and figured it out that way. Other than that though, instructions very easy, everything pretty straightforward. You do the top, collar, shorts, put them all together, and what do you get? Just kidding. And put them all together, and it was fairly easy. How long did it take me to put together? I don't know, because I don't sew straight through. So I probably started in October, end of September with the painting. And then I finished early November. Yes, that makes sense. So through painting and then sewing, I finished early November. So about 2 months. Again, I don't sew straight through. I probably sew 2 hours, and then I probably sew 4 hours a week. And that's the problem, okay? That's why I don't finish things. Anyway, so let's talk about the design of this thing. This romper was made to fit into my casual rock glam collection. So if you didn't know, the collection I started in the summer had a theme. So there's casual glam rock, you know, so inspired by rock and roll, but the softer side, the prettier side. There's leopard print patterns, there's sequins, there's shiny things, and yeah, so that's what the focus of the collection was. I've already made a 2-piece button-up set, also shorts, using Swim Style's Tailors pattern. You can watch that video. I will link it down below. And this is the second piece that I've completed off the collection. I also have a vest that's been in works for probably a year and a half now that I need to finish. So again, very slow process, and I'm okay with that. I originally chose this pattern because there is a jumpsuit that I already have. It is a cotton-on denim jumpsuit that I absolutely loved. It is my favorite summer piece by far, by all time, okay? And honestly, I want more of that in my life. So I chose this pattern thinking I can make that jumpsuit in several different colors. Thing is I didn't pay attention to the details. So the cotton-on jumpsuit is a center front placket, whereas this is basically a lapel, so it doesn't give the same energy. And also the sleeves are dolman, whereas the cotton-on jumpsuit is plain set-in sleeve. So they are two different energies, which is fine. So which means I do have to buy another pattern. But that is the original reason of why I bought this pattern. My idea was to stencil print this leopard pattern on it. This fabric didn't come like this. It is a red stretch poplin, I believe. There's probably no stretch in this, but the fabric is a red poplin. I believe it's a poplin. I will link the actual information down below, but it is a red woven fabric. And I also purchased some black and red fabric paint from Joann's and a leopard print stencil from Amazon. So what I did for, we'll say 12 hours. Yes. So what I did for about 12 hours is stencil this pattern, this print, onto the cut pieces of the fabric of the pattern. All of this is painted, and it was definitely a labor of love. And in hindsight, it was not the best decision because I painted this not knowing if the pattern would fit, not knowing if the body would fit. Well, it could have been a very much wasted 12 hours of painting. Luckily, it wasn't. So I am going to wear it. That is how I fit it into the design, making a leopard print. Honestly, I'm not huge on leopard print, so I was very afraid of how this would turn out. I honestly wanted a more subtle pattern. The idea was to go for a tonal leopard print, so just a darker red, but I got heavy-handed with the paint and I couldn't go back. So this is what happened. I mixed the paint. There was too much black in it, but at that time, I didn't think I would need more paint. So I was like, this is it. This is what we're doing. Turns out I actually had to go back to Joann's 2 other times for more paint. So I could have just corrected it, but it's fine. I love the way it turned out. So, I mean, accidents happen for a reason sometimes, right? For modifications. Did I modify this pattern? Yes. Yes, I absolutely did. Okay. So the first modification I did was clearly this painted fabric. The pattern does not call for you to paint the fabric. It does not call you to do anything to the fabric. This was just of my own choosing. I say that as a modification because if you choose to paint the fabric, it can affect the, we'll say, chemistry of the fabric. Mine, very stiff now because I painted it. So the fabric itself was not this stiff or rigid, but because I painted it and there's so much, it is definitely stiffer and a lot crispier than I would have originally liked it. So I'm hoping when I wash it, the paint will soften and it's not going to be drapey, but I just don't want it to, you know, like be a piece of paper. Also, it can affect shrinking, maybe, depending on the science and all of that. So if you choose to paint any fabric, take that into consideration first. Wash your fabric first. I did wash my fabric first, so there probably won't be much shrinking if there's anything. Just know that the paint will have some effect on the fabric. Another modification I made, which was because I ran out of fabric, and I mentioned earlier, the under collar has a seam. It is not supposed to. Did it hurt anything, break anything? No. Honestly, it just adds more structure or stiffness or, I don't know, a crisper line to the collar. So it doesn't hurt anything. You can't even tell. Just when it folds, it's just a little bulkier back there. And that's okay. You can't tell. My hair is going to cover it. Actual personal modification that I made to the pattern is the short length. The shorts are supposed to go down to the knees. I don't like that. I don't like that for me. I love my legs. I love my thighs. I like to show them off. So I did shorten the short leg, now 3-inch inseam. Another modification I made is to do mock flat felt seams. And what a flat felt seam is, it's the parallel seams in denim on the sides. So it's a very strong seam. There's a special lapping and construction to it. So it's a very strong seam for the fabric. I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to spend the time to do that. because it takes a longer time. It's not just a straight seam. You have to do 1 or 2 or 3 steps to actually complete the seam. So that just adds time to it, which quality and details, I appreciate it. I just know me and my focus, I could have lost it. Instead of doing the full flat felt seam, I faked it. So what I ended up doing is I did the seam and then I just parallel top stitched on top of it to give that illusion. So my seam allowance is just to the side and boop, boop, double stitch on top. And I did it for the detail. Again, this was after a denim romper from Cotton On, so I wanted that effect. I did that all through the garment. On the lapel, the back has it also, the center back seam, so just the parallel lines I think adds like more quality, attention to detail, things that I love for me. This pattern originally calls for a belt. It is a tie bow belt, and I had cut the pieces out for that. I painted and everything, but as this was coming together and how stiff and rigid it was, I decided that that wasn't going to work out because it'd just be like a very stiff leopard print bow here. So I opted to do belt loops, and I love them. It was my first time doing belt loops. I survived. They weren't tedious. I mean, time consuming a little bit, yes, but I did them. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something around those. So I did 2 in the back for little extra design detail, and then just belt loops in the front. Now, another reason I did this was because of styling. So when I was looking up how to style this jumpsuit and how I plan to wear it during the winter and fall, because I do plan to wear it, one of the ideas that I came across was this guy. He had on a red jumpsuit, but it was belted and the top was off. So he had on like a white t-shirt. So I figured that is another way I can style it. Threw in the belt loops, and I plan to wear a belt with it. And when it's really hot, the top will come off and it'll just be another way to style it. I love making modifications because it is a way to personalize a pattern that was created by somebody else. It is a way to help fit into your style, fit into your closet, and it's just the extra touches of detail that bring you joy and help you enjoy the experience of sewing. Modifications aren't always that easy. It helps if you have the knowledge behind you, know what to do, know how to sew. Like I knew I wanted a mock felt seam. I knew how to do that seam before I started this pattern. Eventually knew I wanted to do belt loops. I knew what the belt loop construction was before I decided to put it in. So I had confidence in changing what the original idea of the pattern was. To do that, you have to get confident in sewing. So if you want to get comfortable with adding modifications to the patterns you purchase, you're going to want to enroll into the Sew Your Style Masterclass. It's a beginner sewing source where we cover the basics from the mindset and choosing a sewing machine to the different stitches and how to finish the stitches. With this knowledge, you can personalize your own patterns and make your own modifications and have the confidence to make your own modifications. For more information, you can tap the link in the description box for the Sew Your Style Masterclass. Do I plan to make this again? Before we touch on that, let's touch on what I don't like about how it is when it's finished. This is a dolman sleeve, and that is basically, it is a one piece. The sleeve is connected to the front. I don't like that. I know I bought it and I saw it and I was okay with that. For me right now, even in this video, I look like a triangle. I have a small head, wide shoulders, and I don't like it. And it's not flattering. I thought it would be more flattering because of the neckline, which, I mean, the neckline is skipping, you know, but this part is not really sitting well with me. And yes, it could just be because of the stiffness of the fabric, and that is likely what it is. It's just too stiff, and there's an extra fabric. It's a little oversized, so it's not a flattering cut. Another thing that I did not like about the style or finishing it was the buttons. It calls for buttons in the lapel. The point of it is to get it to stay and not have the lapel go up and down. It is very annoying buttoning this up because it is not a usual, see? It is not a usual way to button things. So, see, I'm struggling now. there. It's not a usual way to button things, so I don't like that. But those two complaints aside, yes, I will do this again. Not that many more times because, again, this was supposed to copy the Cotton On jumpsuit, and they are two different vibes, which is okay. My mistake for not paying attention to detail, but it's all good. So I will buy another pattern to accommodate that. Or honestly, modify this one. If I make the front one piece and then actually put in a set-in sleeve, I might do that. Might not, because that's work. I do like the potential of this one. Honestly, I see this in like a velvet or a satin, silk charmeuse maybe, just like the flowiness of it. And I kind of want to do that. It's like an elevated pajama set, honestly. That is my review on the KnowMe2063 pattern. Again, I did the romper, and yes, I would sew it again with more modifications. If you want to build your confidence behind doing modifications and learning more stitches and hems and how to just change the basic thing that's put in front of you, you definitely want to check out the Sew Your Style Masterclass. It is linked in the description. It is a beginner-friendly course from choosing your machine to learning stitches and how to apply it to your future projects. So check that out. Until next time, guys, keep designing your best life. Bye. Look how deep this pocket is. Like, it goes to right here. There's that much hand I lose in this pocket. I love it. It's just a deep, deep pocket.